in the vicinity, which are the big brands that are there. So if a
Right.
brand like McDonald's, KFC, Domino's are around, that means they have also done their research.
Right.
Apart from that, you should also talk to your POCs in Zomato and Swiggy to check
Okay.
that location has a good proximity of orders where we can get a lot of orders, right?
Right.
So these are the location parameters that are there. You should filter that out.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's special. My name is Ketan, and I'm joining in from a not very sunny Mumbai. It's raining and the clouds part, and it's sunny. Do let us know where you're joining in from. What's the name of your brand? And yeah, for those of you joining us for the first time, today's special is our community first initiative for F&B owners, people who want to get into the business but don't know how. We have an array of experts who come and tell us about the challenges that they faced, how they solve them, and so on and so forth. And I'm very excited for Justin to join us. You must have seen their brands across, from the Kerala Cafe to Kha Burgers to Francesco's Pizzeria, Nino's Burgers. And it's been a very exciting journey. Welcome to the show, George. Justin, sorry, Justin.
Thank you so much, Ketan. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to have this conversation
Yeah.
and my insights that, whatever I've learned through this journey
Yeah.
and share it with the audience.
Awesome. I mean, that's what our audience loves. Unfiltered, no BS conversations about things that work, things that did not work, right? Um,
Yes.
so Justin, you guys now have four brands. You're head of operations at three of them. You're a co-founder at the Kerala Cafe, and you've been doing this for a bit, right? But I'm curious to understand, how did you step into the world of QSR? Because it's certainly not the easiest of businesses to get into. What was your aha moment when you said, "Oh, this is what I want to do"?
All right. So my journey in the hospitality industry began in 2016 when we started Kerala Cafe with my co-founders Jim and Tanraj. So I am not at all from the hospitality background, and I actually stumbled upon it. So basically, I was into the computer science field, and then I started another business. And in 2016, we did a road trip. So I'm
Okay.
from Kerala, and we went for a road trip. And over there in Kerala, we saw the cuisine, and we realized
Okay.
that there is nobody in India who is providing a franchisee for a Kerala brand. That's
Interesting.
how we decided that we should have a brand for Kerala that promotes Kerala cuisine and the culture, and we should give franchisee of that. And that's how we thought that in 2016 we'll start, and we started our first outlet without any experience, just with the kida of like that junoon of like, let's do it, because I was already into the business, so we were like
Yeah.
sure that we'll figure it out along the way. So one mistake at a time, and then basically the journey taught me. And yeah, so that's how I got into it. Then I read many books about how to set up systems and grow a brand, and did a lot of mistakes. And
Of course.
then I realized that I enjoy feeding people. That response of like after a person enjoys a good meal,
Uh,
the good feedback that they give, that my parents loved it, my kid enjoyed it, that feeling
yeah.
is really good. And that's how I basically went deep into it. And over the years, basically we grew the brand into multiple outlets. Scaling was something that I am passionate about, and
Yeah.
bringing systems together so that the business runs smoothly. So that is something that I was interested about, and
Hmm.
that's how basically my journey continued. And then now
Nice.
basically I joined with Nino, and we did this QSR, right? So we have burgers, pizzas, and then we have multiple outlets. So that's how
Nice.
it's been going.
So, interesting story. We are passionate lovers of another fast food chain that does consistent burgers. I'm not going to name them, but off late we have moved to Kha. We have an outlet close to the house, and it's one of my daughter's favorite places to go because it's like just hits the spot every time. So, very interesting outlet. The way it's designed, the way the staff helps you. The offers that are going, but phenomenal. But we'll come back to that in a bit. You've given me three segues to talk about. One is the mistakes that you've done, one is the frameworks, and one is the books. So I certainly want to know the books that you're reading, and I'm sure people are looking for more sources of knowledge apart from this show. But tell me, when you launched the first brand, and I believe just the Kerala Cafe has 6 outlets now. And if you look at Kha Burgers and Francesco and Nino's, you have a combined of over 30 outlets, right, across the country. When you started the first outlet, what were the main obstacles that came your way? And I'm asking you this specifically because you don't come from a food background, right? Everything was a new thing for you to tackle. What were the biggest challenges that came your way?
So the biggest challenges for us during that time, I would talk about Kerala Cafe, for instance, which is a casual dining restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
So when we started that brand, basically the biggest problem is like employees. Staffing is the biggest problem for
Okay.
any food brand. So sourcing them, making sure that they are motivated to do the right job. So basically, in any food brand, right,
Mm,
they are the first people who are the face of the brand, and they are the ones who are talking to the customers. So if the
right.
employees are happy, the staff is happy, that is when a customer is happy. So the biggest challenge was to understand that and to know how to retain them, to
Mm,
motivate them, and to keep
right.
them happy so that they deliver a good experience.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of the biggest challenges. Apart from that, food cost for us initially, since I was not from the industry, we did a lot of mistakes in pricing the menu and giving like more portions and controlling the food cost where we made losses. So once I
Okay.
realized that, there is a lot of scope in optimizing operation. If you do a good job in operations, you can
Mm-hmm.
save a lot of money there.
Okay.
So those were the two biggest challenges that were there. Other challenges were, I would say, there are like multiple challenges. When you're doing a food business, there are like, I would say, hundreds of challenges. But these were
Right.
the two major things that we worked upon, which gave us like a massive result.
Right. So when you're saying food cost, right? So we were talking to Hari Balasubramanian sir, who's a angel investor and mentor to a lot of brands like Biggie's and Chiliza. He's an early investor in these samosa party brands, right? So he was saying that ideally your food cost should not be more than 20 to 25%, which is what we've also heard from other experts like Chef Ajay Chopra, who also said the same thing. Was it the same for you? And how did you come to that number? When did you know that you've optimized as much as you can?
Yeah. So basically, for first 6 months, I was unaware because I didn't know about it much.
Okay.
But I realized that is the heart of the business. And
Mm.
when we did the calculation, we were somewhere around 52%, which is very bad.
Wow. Okay.
Customers were very happy at that time because they were getting more portions for a good cost, and
Right.
that is the thing. Basically, what we realized was after doing like proper inventory closing and finding out the recipes and doing the math,
Hmm.
we realized that the food cost should be at 28%, and we understood that we were doing over portioning, and the staff was not
Hmm.
like giving the right amount of food. The closing was not happening, the
Right.
receiving was not happening clearly.
Hmm.
So these are the gaps when we realized that there has to be some changes, and there were systems to be placed, and there should be a daily check that is needed for
Okay.
inventory and the food to get
Okay.
the cost in control.
Okay. Walk me through a typical day back of the kitchen or back of the house in terms of when you say daily checks on inventory management, what does that look like?
So basically, now if you're running a restaurant, right? So every day there is a when you start the day, there is some quantity of food that is there with us, right?
Hmm.
And then there will be supplies also that come in. So basically,
Right.
whenever you do the receiving, right, your receiving has to be accurately counted for, as
Okay.
in 10 kg of chicken or whatever thing that is there. It has to be weighed correctly
Hmm.
to the T, and it has to be accounted, because sometimes the billing also is different. Sometimes some vendors put 10 kg but the material is 9 kg. That usually happens. So there is a one that is like 10% of chicken, right?
Right.
So receiving is the first key thing for
Okay.
a correct food cost. And then after that, when the day ends, you have to have an accurate inventory closing to be done. So when I say about accurate inventory closing, is that every food item that is there in the kitchen has to be counted and weighed, whichever some things are open also, right? Some things are
Hmm.
loose. So that also has to be accounted for. So for example, if you are doing a burger, and you have some preps also, like your
Hmm.
salsa or maybe lettuce or anything that is prepped also, that also has to be accounted for. So when you have
Okay.
inventory of all these items which are packed and unpacked and loose,
Hmm.
that's when you know that you're in the that entry should happen correctly, and then that's how you measure.
Okay. And who's responsible for making sure that this happens properly?
So in a kitchen, in a particular kitchen, the store manager is the main person who is
Okay.
responsible for this.
Okay.
It is his duty to make sure that the food costs are in control. Now, in a bigger setup like a
Uh-huh.
casual dining space, the CDP or the head chef is
Okay.
responsible to maintain the food cost.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, so let's say, so you understood that 28% was a sweet spot for you at the Kerala Cafe, right? Now
Right.
you have four brands and you're running operations for all four brands and 30 plus outlets. So is it 28% for all of them?
No, no. So it's not 28% for all. It depends on the cuisine and the pricing that we have.
Okay.
So for Nino and Francesco, which is on more on the premium side, the food cost is lesser because we
Uh-huh.
charge a premium.
Okay.
And for Kha, it is somewhere around 28,
Hmm.
30%, which is again a affordable brand. And for Kerala Cafe also, it is different because the cuisine is different, right? So for
Sure.
all four brands, the percentages are different, but it always has to be below 30% for a
Okay.
healthy this thing. If you're able
Understood.
to get down below 25, 22, then you're doing a very good job with the pricing and with your inventory management.
With the portions also. But
Yes.
does the city also factor into this because different cities have different rentals in different areas, right? How do you factor then? Because I doubt if your pricing would be different for the same city and different areas in that city.
Yeah, there is a fluctuation of 2%
Okay.
roughly for different cities
Hmm.
based on the supplies. Also, now let's say now when you're
Hmm.
scaling, right? Let's say you're starting a new city, so you
Hmm.
have less number of outlets. That
Okay.
means that your economies of scale are lower. So that
Hmm.
way, your negotiation and the pricing will be different when you have like less quantity versus when you have like a 10, 20 outlet
Hmm.
where you can purchase in bulk. So basically, as you grow, your negotiation power increases and you're able to get the food cost down
Right. Of
when you
course.
scale. So for different cities, the percentages vary
Hmm.
because of cities, this thing.
Of course, of course. So
Yeah.
is it fair to say that uh variation of plus minus 2% is acceptable?
Yeah, in some cases, like, so that's why your food cost always has to be like, 28, 30,
Hmm.
25 in that
Right.
range. So 2% is manageable, I would say,
Hmm.
because see, even if like your ideal food cost is somewhere around 28%,
Yeah.
uh, it is like, we can never match the ideal food cost because there are
Hmm.
always some kind of wastages and there are
Of course.
people working on this, right? So there is human error that happens. And whatever your ideal food cost is, there will always be like a 1 2% buffer that will always be. So it depends on how efficient your operations are to get
Right.
it closer to the ideal mark.
Okay. And this 28% or 30% or whatever the number is, right? Across chains, is it part of the SOP? So I'm more interested in the frameworks that you are using to scale now, right? I think of all the brands that you have, Car has the maximum number of outlets, if I'm not wrong.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. So how are you making sure that the SOPs are followed, and how do you define the SOPs first? Let's start there.
Right. So, how we define the SOP is like, so firstly, when we start an outlet, when we start a
Hmm.
concept, right,
Right.
we do a PMF, first things first.
What is
So,
AMF?
PMF, product market
PMF.
fit.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Product
Where
market fit.
product market fit.
Yeah.
So, what we do is we launch an outlet
Hmm.
and we see what the customers are saying. Then we define the pricing. We obviously, when a first outlet is there, we run with the cost and we put a menu price. That way, we
Hmm.
come to know that this is the food cost, this is the manpower cost, customers are liking it. So when you
Hmm.
do a PMF, what should happen is basically there should be people who should be bragging about the brand, or there should be a good word of mouth. That is
Right.
a good indicator of like brand is working or not. And
Hmm.
then the second thing is that the repeat rate, like the repeat rate should be good. So once you do a PMF and you know that okay, now we can scale this brand, is then that's when you go into the SOP formation, defining
Hmm.
SOPs.
Okay.
So when you go about defining SOPs, what we have to do is we have to look at every step. So for example,
Hmm.
when you open the outlet, what is it that you have to do?
Hmm.
You have to switch on the lights, you have to clean the outlet, right? There are different steps. So
Right.
throughout the day, there are multiple steps for multiple things. So there is
Sure.
opening of outlet, there is closing of outlet, there is opening of your Zomato Swiggy portal. There
Hmm.
is
Yeah.
when customer walks in, what is the first response? How do you interact with them? If there is a complaint, how do you resolve it? So there are multiple things where you have to define everything. So basically, I say that my concept is that there should be no guesswork in the outlet when you're making a
Hmm.
QSR, and if you want to build a scalable brand which is sustainable, what we should do is there should be no guesswork in the outlet. So for
Hmm.
every step there should be an answer, and when you're building that outlet, in the first 1 2 outlets you should be there present and see what is it that is happening, and then go about defining your steps. 80 to
Understood.
90% of the things are mostly like the standard stuff, like opening is a standard thing, but for your brand it'll be a little bit, there'll be a little bit of variation. So
Understood.
most of it is standard, but like 20 to 30% is something that is going to be customized and unique for your outlet.
Right. Right.
Based on what you're
And how?
serving.
Sorry. Sorry. Go ahead. Didn't
Yeah,
mean
yeah.
to
No, so
keep.
based on what you're serving, yeah, I
Yeah.
finish that one.
And typically, how frequently are these SOPs revisited for changes or updates?
So it should be like quarterly for an initial when you're
Hmm.
setting up a brand and scaling it, right? So for example, your definition of SOP should be done in the first or second outlet itself. Then
Hmm.
every quarter you should review it. And when you're scaling the brand, right? When you're scaling the brand to a different region or a different city,
Hmm.
that's when your tweaking of SOPs might be required. There will also be like different SOPs for locations that are different. Like for example,
Hmm.
there are some locations for car which is like close to the college. So the timing
Okay.
for the outlet is different from a outlet which is near residential and a corporate area, right? So that's how like you need to do tweak. So I would say that every quarter you should revisit the SOP, and you
Every
should
quarter.
do this at
Okay.
least for 3 years till the time
Okay.
your SOPs are refined.
So 3 years is what you say is the learning period to concretize the SOPs, huh?
I would say that like also
Okay.
depends on how much scale you're doing, right? What is the scale?
Right. Of course.
So even now, like if you see brands like KFC, McDonald's, Starbucks, right? They keep evolving their SOPs based
Hmm.
on new products, based on whatever learnings they get from different regions.
Right.
So I would say that you should keep on doing this exercise. Initially, you should do every quarter, and then change it to 6 months, and then yearly. It should be like that.
Okay. Fair enough. So this is when you have one or two outlets, is when you start defining your SOPs and then, implementing it across different cities and different brands. Now, when you're scaling, is there a framework that you refer to when you say that, okay, now I have this PMF in this city with this type of an audience, I want to scale? What's the framework that you would probably look at? Do you have an did you build something? Did you follow something that was publicly available? So you decide that when I'm going to scale, this is the kind of audience I want to go after. This is the kind of region I want to go after. This is going to be the size of the outlet. This is what I need to do. Step one, step two, step three.
Yes, yes, yes. So basically, when you're going about scaling, right, the first thing is your model. Like,
Okay.
what is your model? Is it a dine-in model? Is it a
Mm,
takeaway model? Is it a
okay.
cloud kitchen model? Right? And then you define your size of the restaurant, because that is very important for your investment. So
Right.
whenever you're building a brand, right, when you're talking about the model, there is an investment that goes into it. So if your outlet is 100 square feet or 200 square feet,
Mm,
then that is your specific investment. So
right.
we have to log that, saying that okay, we have done a PMF.
Mm-hmm.
So the size of the restaurant should be this much. We should have this much seating, and this is how an ideal model will look. And we are
Mm-hmm.
doing an average sale of this much. So
Okay.
the ROI, basically the main thing for scaling is that when you invest capital, your ROI should be like within 2 to 3 years.
Okay.
So yeah, so that's when you know that you're ready for scale,
Mm,
and that's something that we check before going into the scale. And then
right.
when we go about scaling, then obviously we study the customer target group and see
Right.
okay, which location out of the two locations, which locations are performing well, what type of customers are coming in. So based on that, we categorize that okay, this brand can work in this locations, and it has like a scope of scaling at these many outlets. So like for example, Kerala Cafe is like a different regional cuisine, right? It's a
Right.
CDR casual dining outlet. It
Right.
cannot scale like Kha, because Kha is like a everyday burger, and Kerala Cafe is like a regional experience. So if you see,
Right.
Kerala Cafe has 6 outlets, Kha has like 20 plus outlets. So that way, that is how you you understand if this brand should scale to multiple locations or not,
Right.
and how many locations.
So the first thing is you have to survive those 24 months, right? At least, which
Yeah.
if you don't have the right financial model in place, you're not going to, right? Uh,
Yes.
do you have a financial model like this saying that, like you said, my cost should be recovered in 2 to 3 years, but going in without crunching the numbers, and this is again something that Hari sir mentioned in the last episode, that you have to have somebody who is, or you need to be very good with the numbers yourself. You cannot make an excuse that I don't understand numbers and I can't do this, right? So
Yes.
talk us through the financial modeling bit.
Right. So financial modeling bit, the main thing is like the P&L, right? The profit and
Uh,
loss statement. So for
yes.
any entrepreneur or anyone who's heading this, they should know the numbers, right? Like Hari said, it's
Hmm.
very important. So you should know your food cost. You should know your staffing cost. What is the ideal staffing cost
Hmm.
based on the operational hours?
Right.
Then after that is your utilities, right? Rental.
Hmm.
Now a lot of people make a mistake in like
Hmm.
finding the right rental ratio.
Okay.
A lot of people make mistake in our industry.
What is
uh,
the rental ratio?
so rental ratio should be like within 10%. 8% is the ideal for a retail outlet for a dine-in model, and for a cloud kitchen model it should be below 4 to 5% of your revenue.
Of your revenue. Okay.
So when you're doing a PMF, you should see that whatever sales that you're doing and
Hmm.
whatever rental that you've got according to the size of your outlet, it should always fall near the 10% bracket. That means you
10.
know that you have got a good deal and you've got a good model.
Okay. So
So
10% of the projected annual revenues.
yeah,
Okay.
10% of the projected annual monthly. 10% is monthly. That's how we
Okay.
calculate.
Sure.
Yeah. So 10% is your rental, then you have your utility cost, which is
Hmm.
water, electricity. So if you are running a gas model or if you're running a electric model, the cost differs over there. Then your marketing cost, how much marketing do you have to do to get the
Hmm.
audience in?
Right.
So I believe that you should do only 2 to 3% of marketing spend. Uh,
Okay.
Good brand basically that's a sign of a good brand. Within 2 to 3% of your marketing spend, if you're able to generate organic plus inorganic people,
Hmm.
that'll be like the best case scenario. So
Okay.
that's how a financial model is, and your profitability should be around 15 to 20%,
Hmm.
and you're good to go.
Okay. Fantastic. And where do you put in the licensing costs and the other affiliated costs there?
Yeah, so there basically that is your setup cost, right?
Okay.
So when you build the outlet,
Hmm.
uh, licensing cost is something that is part of your setup,
Right.
and your interior cost also come into that.
Of course.
Then payment towards your launch marketing, right? Your initial first month of
Hmm.
launch, how you're gonna inform the other people
Sure.
and build an audience for that, right? So
Right.
that cost is also there in that.
Okay.
So that's how it
Okay.
is.
And so when you started, you probably didn't know anything except that you wanted to serve food and make people happy, right?
Correct.
How important is for anybody wanting to get into this business to get someone like an expert who can tell them that these are the 10, 50 different licenses that you need. This is what you need to take care of. How important is to get that crack team in place?
Sorry, I didn't get that. Sorry.
So, if you knew that there was a consultant who could tell you that these are 50 licenses that you need to operate, right?
Mhm.
Fire,
Mhm.
if you're
Correct.
serving alcohol,
Correct.
all of those hygiene and sanitation and all of those licenses, right? How important is to get somebody like that on day one?
So it's very good. Like it's very important to have someone like that in
Hmm.
your team. So usually you have like consultants
Hmm.
who do the job, right?
That's right.
And to be honest, like the Indian scenario is like there are like multiple licenses that you need to operate.
Every
If you
year.
so there are certain licenses which are renewable every year. Certain
Okay.
licenses are one time.
Okay.
but you need to have good consultants in place so that whenever there is an issue with the department or something, it can be handled. You can also
Right.
do directly. I have done both. I have done
Mm-hmm.
it through consultants, and I have done it myself. I realized that when you go and do it by yourself, you have to do multiple rounds, and
Mm,
sometimes it is not like worth the time.
of
It,
course.
yeah, so getting a consultant on board is the best thing, and there are multiple consultants who help you coordinate with the departments, various
Right.
departments, and get the licenses.
Yeah, they're probably doing it day in and day out, so they have a better relationship, right?
Yes, and they have a
And
relationship with the officer, and it's
right,
like
and
that way.
as an owner, founder, you rather spend your time on making your offering better or optimizing
Yes.
your operations than get into all of this.
Optimizing the operation and the product. That's where I think the founder should spend time.
Absolutely, absolutely agree. Okay, so my next question is around positioning, right? The brand positioning, the market positioning, right? So your brands are serving different audiences, right? Like you said, Kai is for your everyday burger. Francesco Pizzeria is more like a premium offering when you're feeling, like splurging. Or Kerala Cafe is when you want to have that authentic experience. Some days you just wake up, craving for Malayali food. So you probably go to a Kerala Cafe, right? Um, uh, how do you position each brand in this market without cannibalizing the other, right? Because you have two brands that are burgers, one which is a pizza, third is a Kerala Cafe. So if you look at, there are two burgers and one pizza which are competing in the fast food space, right?
Correct.
As an operator, how do you make sure that both are balanced?
So it's a good question. So the thing is, it's about having the right SOPs in place, I would say.
Hmm.
Again,
Okay.
that's how you manage multiple brands with different cuisines.
Hmm.
So having that in place can sort most of your things. So identity wise, I feel like it's more about like operation wise. If you see burger operations, running a burger and a pizza operations are very similar.
Okay. When
And
you say
Kerala
similar, it's because it's a
similar
fast
as in,
food or.
yeah, because the sauces that are being used, or maybe the processes
Hmm.
in terms of the toppings, or
Right.
the misa that is being used, right? That is
Okay.
similar. And it's like now for us, for Nino Foods, right? We have a hub and spoke model. So
Okay.
that way it's very much easier for us because we have a central kitchen where the production happens for everything, and then
Right.
we supply the stuff to our outlets. And outlet is more so to fry and assemble and dispatch. Yeah,
Okay.
so nothing, no preparation at the outlet actually happens. Main thing happens
Hmm.
at the central kitchen.
Okay. So then you said it comes down to the SOPs, right?
Yeah,
Is there a difference in the way you market these products or these services or your brand? Because all of them are on Swiggy, all of them are on Zomato, right? So how do you make sure that the budgets for each brand are delivering the right ROI and it's getting equal attention from the audience?
yeah. So there, basically, in that selling point of view, the target audience is the key. Like for
Right.
every brand, the target audience is different,
Okay.
and budgets are also different based on the targets that we have, right?
Hmm.
Also, how much revenue it does.
Right.
So that's how basically we differentiate it, and
Okay.
yeah, that's how it is.
Yeah, and one of the things that you said early on was about getting the right people in, right? If you're a fairly new brand, I'm guessing it's difficult to get talent, right? It's just like in tech. If you're a startup, you have to work extra hard to get the right folks. You want the best people for the optimal cost. How do you
Correct.
approach that problem? And I'm assuming in the food business, this is a daily problem as opposed to a yearly or quarterly problem as in other businesses.
Correct. So basically, finding good talent, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's basically something that I feel that when we work on our product, okay, and we work really hard on the product, people get inspired and see that okay, we
Mm-hmm.
are doing this. And I feel that when we show the vision and the potential of the brand is when a
Right.
good talent is attracted to us.
Right.
And also when they meet us, or maybe they come and have an interview or something, so that is when they get the vibe of like how the culture is, or
Right.
maybe how the founders are.
Right.
So that is very important. So for us, the thing is, we are like doing this regularly in
Hmm.
terms of putting posts out, reaching out to people. And also because our brands are good and people love it, there are a lot of
Right.
inbound inquiries where people
Of
are
course.
coming to us,
Right.
right? So that way it's like an ongoing process.
Okay.
And sometimes we come across good people, sometimes we learn. It's an
Of
ongoing
course.
thing, I feel.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that is attracting. How do you keep these people?
So yeah, it's so basically you have to give them a lot of work, a lot of exciting work,
Okay.
and you should ask them like, okay, what is it that you want to learn? So basically, there are people who want to learn, and there are people who want to achieve things.
Okay.
So we like have a mix of, we have some interns we work with, and we
Okay.
also have people who have achieved already and are going to like make an impact. So we work with both kind of peoples. So we have come across like good interns, like who
Hmm.
really want to make it big and
Right.
are hungry for success. So with
Okay.
them, what we do is we ask them like, what do you want, what is it, what is your objective, and we are
Hmm.
very clear on like what is it that you want to achieve, and we will help you achieve it, making sure that our goals are also met. And
Of
then
course.
what we do is basically we give them KPIs,
Hmm.
we track their growth, and we ensure that they know that they are making these impacts in the company. So we have a conversation regularly
Right.
to so that we know that okay, they are actually making the impact.
Of
So
course.
that way they are happy.
And this holds true across the organizational structure from back of house to front of house.
Yeah, it goes across like till the store manager,
Okay.
from supply department, all the departments to the
Okay.
store manager.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So one thing that we do on today's special is also talk about failures, right? Because that tends to teach you a lot more than probably a success would, right? Do you have instances of where your plan went horribly wrong, right? It could have been any brand, new product, menu introduction, menu re-engineering, something that you thought would work, but it just didn't. And walk us through how did you kind of recover from that?
Yeah, so mistakes are costly in food business because
Of
it is
course.
capital intensive, right?
Yeah.
So one of the mistakes, like for Kerala Cafe, right? We were growing. We opened an outlet at a corporate very near to a corporate park. Okay, and that was like one mistake that we did. We realized that actually the corporate audience doesn't want to have Kerala meals every day. So Kerala
Okay.
is something that a family would want to try as a experience.
Right.
And corporates basically want a daily food where they can go every day, have a
Right.
meal which is like comfortable for them. And also if alcohol is there, then it's good. It's like that.
Yeah.
So for the evenings, right? After work.
Right.
So we realized that, location, finding a good location with good research is very important.
Hmm.
So that is something that I had learned, that
Okay.
whenever you're investing like a good amount of money to
Hmm.
set up a place, you have to do the right research to get the location right. Even
Right.
after you do the studies, until today, there is always like it's that's the most difficult thing, to find the right location.
Right. Right.
So that is one of the biggest learnings.
And
And
which city was this in?
this was in Hinjewadi, Pune.
In Pune. Yeah, it's very expensive, of course. And
Yeah.
and when you do the agreement with the landlord or the shop owner, it's probably for a year or 11
Yeah, we
months or
did for
whatever,
5 years. Yeah.
for 5 years.
Yes, yes. Because
So
the
how did you
investment.
get out of it?
So it's a tricky part. You have to like have honest conversation with the landlord. Say that okay,
Right.
this is what it is, and most of the landlords are like they understand.
Okay.
At least 75% of them have
Right.
come across is like they are understanding, and they also help, because ultimately they know that if we are not making money, then we won't be able to give money, right? So
That's
it's
right.
an honest conversation that you must have and figure a way out to salvage that situation.
Right. So has this made it into any SOP?
So yes, when you are looking for location, right, there is a location feasibility report that
Okay.
you need to do. So when you're going about finding locations, when you did PMF, you should filter the things that have worked for you. So, for
Right.
example, for a brand like car, it should be near a college, a mix of residential
Right.
plus young people over there.
Right.
Then it should be on the main road because visibility is important.
Hmm.
Like if we are talking about main road, also how many cars are passing in like 1 minute,
Oh,
that
okay.
will also say a lot about that road. Then
Okay.
you should check if in the vicinity which are the big brands that are there. So if a
Right.
brand like McDonald's, KFC, Domino's are around, that means they have also done their research.
Right.
Apart from that, you should also talk to your POCs in Zomato and Swiggy to check
Okay.
that location has a good proximity of orders where we can get a lot of orders, right?
Right.
So these are the location parameters that are there. You should filter that out, and you should have a pen and paper and actually write it down so that you are like, things are clear, because when you do a mental math,
Hmm.
you sometimes miss that. So
Of
we,
course.
whenever we go out for locations, we do this paperwork where we
Hmm.
find out, okay, what is the thing, what it should be, and then based on that we take a call.
Okay. So do you do this on your own, or do you have an expert who's going with you to do this feasibility study?
So we have in-house team members. We don't have an
Okay.
expert on board,
Uh-huh.
but this report has to be filled, and there should be videos, photos attached. Then there's map link, so you can do this
Right.
remotely as well.
Okay. But it
With
won't be the same, right?
it won't be the same,
Yeah.
but when you're scaling fast and you're doing multiple cities, it is also very difficult to be there
Of
every
course.
time,
Of
right?
course.
So that way you have to manage, like depending on. So for a Kerala cafe, I would go there and see because
Hmm.
the investment is higher,
Right.
the risk is higher, so
Right.
something like
Sounds almost like an oil exploration project where you've got to go
that.
to figure out if there is a reservoir of minerals there or not.
Even after you do all these things, create SOPs and all that,
Right.
there will be like a location that might not work. That's
I'm sure, right? Okay. So now uh, a lot of people are now opting for vegan meals or healthier options or substitutions in of raw materials or whatever, right? How are your brands gearing up for that? Or are you okay to say that we don't cater to that audience, so it doesn't matter?
so.
What
I'll be honest with you. The thing is, we like in Nino Foods, right? When this
Hmm.
Beyond Meat had launched, so
Okay.
Nino Burgers was the first one in Mumbai to get Beyond Meat over here, giving
Okay.
like plant-based
Right.
meat. It was expensive. It is expensive when you like go to a healthier alternative, right?
Right.
But the audience like here, I feel like ultimately go back to the regular options rather than a healthier one. So I have
Okay.
seen that the adoption rate for, like, for example, now for Nino Burgers, Francesco, people come to us for indulgent meal. They don't come to us for a healthier option. If
Right.
I'm looking for a healthier option, I would go to a healthy brand directly rather than finding healthier option. And so basically we are not doing much of like additions in the health segment. We did that, we tried it, we realized that okay, there is not much traction.
Hmm.
And I think that if you're doing healthy, you should do all healthy. If don't, I think we should not mix the both in one.
Yeah,
uh,
so you can't keep your feet in two boats, right? You'll just fall in the middle. Um, Fair enough, I get it. Uh, so half of this year is almost over, right? Um, what are the trends that you foresee in the QSR space for the next 18 months or so, and what should people focus on?
Right. So I feel that a lot of desert brands are coming up,
Right.
and the trends that I see is like I think that specialty products are going to pop up
Hmm.
more.
Okay.
Like for example, like how Belgian waffle did it, like back in the
Right.
day. It's
Hmm.
expert in Belgian waffle, right? Now there will be brands that will come up which will be like specialized in one or two main menu categories rather than having
Right.
like a array of products. There will be QSRs that will come which will be like specialized into that. So for
Right.
example, like fries,
Uh,
there is no brand in India that is like giving like fresh fries, who are like everyone is giving the frozen fries.
right.
Nobody's making fresh fries. So
Okay.
something like that, like a brand can come which can be like which can be serving like fresh fries, like how it is in Amsterdam,
Right.
for
Right.
instance. So
Okay.
that way, I think that specialized products, focused products will come up, which are like lean in menu
Hmm.
and are focused. So that is something that I see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very interesting that you mentioned that because where I stay in Bombay, a lot of dessert brands and shops have popped up, right? But
Hmm.
they have a very, very limited menu, right? So there's this Nuvo Gelato that has opened up, and they have only 8 flavors, but 8 of them are banging, right?
Correct.
They don't want to do 20, 25, 30 flavors anymore. They will do those 8. They're probably rotating it, and they also have, I think, have 7, 8 outlets.
Yeah.
But yeah, they have 8 at any given point of time.
Correct. I also feel that that is the way to go, because that way, your inventories are limited, your costs are controlled, and then
Right,
you can focus on that eight products, right, and make the best out of it. And I think
right,
that customers also want to go to an expert nowadays. Like gone are the days when there was like multi cuisine where you give everything on plate,
right,
so you do average of all the products. So people want to go to a specialist who is like the best at that product.
right, right,
So I think that's the good way to go, and that's how you basically. It's very good to scale. Like when you have lean products, it's very easy to scale. Also, you should
right,
keep
right.
as lean as possible.
And I think people are also getting a very conscious about the ingredients that go into your in whatever you're eating, right? So if you're going to a specialist, you know that they have a faster movement of inventory and products, so they're probably making fresher stuff, higher
Yeah,
quality stuff.
exactly.
And I don't think majority of the people who are actually eating out are they won't compromise quality for cost, right? So they'll probably have it lesser, but they will have whatever is best in their budget, right? Is this
Correct.
something that you're seeing also for your brands?
Cost conscious customers, yes, a
Yes.
lot of them. Yeah, cost
Cost and
conscious.
quality conscious, right? So they might just come once in a month as opposed to say 4 or 5 times in a month. But they will make sure that they go to a place that serves them the best quality that their budget can accommodate.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, like, customers, like, I am seeing, like, two types of customers, to be honest, for
Okay.
our brands, like, Francesco and Nino, which is like on the gourmet side of expensive. There, I
Right.
don't think so, like, our customers look at the price. For them,
Okay.
quality matters, because we have,
Okay.
like, expensive ingredients, and we have a premium customer base.
Right.
So, there it is all about quality. And for an affordable space like car, there the customers are like worried about the quantity rather than the quality. So I
Hmm.
get like feedback from customers saying that the quantity is less, or there should be no quantity.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's how the difference is in customer
Right.
approach.
No, I remember the first time I went to Khai, I was so blown away, not just by the quality and the quantity and the price point, that I messaged you immediately saying that, boss, this has just opened here. Amazing. My life is kind of sorted as far as burgers are concerned. Um, so on the last segment, I want to ask you that, you have partners like Swiggy and Zomato to manage the last mile in many cases, right? Operationally, how do you ensure that they're in line, the food, because you don't really have control over their SOPs, right? So how do you make sure that your food and everything gets delivered properly, and whatever feedback is addressed properly? Customers are not left hanging high and dry.
Yeah, so basically, they have a good dashboard. Okay, so
Okay.
we can track it like real time basis as to what is happening on Swiggy Zomato platform, right?
Right.
So what we do is we play on the metrics. So for
Right.
us, these metrics are very important, and
Hmm.
every store manager is responsible to make sure that we deliver it and perform based on the benchmarks of these metrics. So
Right.
if we are on that, then that means like we are on good track. So things like KPT, which is like kitchen prep time,
Hmm.
which is like if you like there is a that is like one of the hacks to like increase your sales. So if you have a good KPT, your sales increase by like 20%.
Okay.
So simple as that.
Right.
So basically we check the metrics and we make sure that the outlets are performing at good levels on that metrics, and then basically Zomato Swiggy takes care of it. And
Okay.
even if there are issues, we definitely highlight it to the operations team, and
Right.
they are very good at like making sure that things are aligned, and they support us, and then basically they take quick action. Now since we have
Right.
multiple outlets, we have like a POC who is like assigned to us to ensure that our operations are streamlined.
Right. So if I get a pizza that is vertically delivered, and I'm not happy and I ask for a refund, who is giving me that refund? Is it a delivery platform or is it the restaurant?
So when this is a rider issue, right, the
Yes.
refunds are given by us only.
Okay.
But what we do is we highlight this issue with the Swiggy or Zomato team,
Okay.
and they basically have like they also bear the amount for refund when we show that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. At that commission rates, they're better.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, because it's not easy getting on this platform, and those commissions are definitely eating into your margins, right? Which is
100%.
another massive cost, right? Cost of goods sold into the business.
Absolutely. And it's
Awesome.
only
Okay.
increasing. And it's only increasing.
Yeah, and it's only increasing, right? So I mean, there's only a limit till which you can afford it, after which you'll probably have to go back to the good old days.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, so I have a bunch of questions here that
Yeah,
I'm going to go through.
sure.
Folks have sent these questions in the chat, so I'll have to go through that. Okay, so let me go to the Q&A. Okay. Okay, so Arvind has a very legit question on the commissions. So Arvind Krishnan is saying that one of the main issues, especially for cloud kitchens, is aggregator fees and the discounts we give to the customers, which in the Indian market is kind of a mandate. I hear
Correct.
you, Arvind. In that case, our food costs with 28 to 38%, and the discount and the aggregator. Can you break it down in case of cloud kitchen?
Yeah. So the thing is, it's a very good question actually, and cloud kitchens, suffer with this problem. Every
Yeah.
cloud kitchen. So that's why pricing is very important. Like
Yeah.
when you know that your dependency is on Zomato and Swiggy,
Right.
you should rather price it at a price point where you can give the discount, you can take the commissions, and also the food cost. So that's why it's very essential that your pricing is right. If you go wrong with the pricing, is when, because see, you cannot run away from the commissions. You will have to give some sort of discount.
Mm,
Okay, now discounts have to be controlled and managed. When we talk about discounts, there you can go to the dashboard and see how much discount are you giving. It should always be below, like 10%, 15%, and
mm,
you should always keep like a benchmark, because discounts are like funny, because some discounts like go up, and if you don't track it, you will lose money over there. So considering current scenario, when you're working with Zomato and Swiggy, I would say that you should price your product properly to manage this cost. Otherwise, have an option for self delivery. If you can develop a self delivery, you can manage these costs.
okay. Just for context, Arvind runs Scope Kitchens based out of Bangalore.
Okay.
Uh, so again, Arvind has another question around hiring, right? He's saying that it's very difficult to hire in the restaurant industry. A white collar has a Naukri and LinkedIn, but for blue collars, we don't have any good portals. Where are you hiring from?
So Apna and Work India
Okay.
and Calm, like these are three portals. We Apna actually gives good results,
Uh-huh.
uh, and the biggest thing is word of mouth. So word of mouth is basically referrals. So what we do is we have like an internal referral scheme that has turned out to, that is like the best ROI for us,
Right.
where we get an ideal candidate and at a good price. So I would say
So,
that first thing is a referral, then apna.com works really well, and Work India for blue collar.
so which was the third one you mentioned? Apna Work India?
Calm,
Calm.
calm.com.
Okay, got it, got it. So Arvind, I get you. I hear you about discounts, and we're hearing this from a lot of other restaurateurs that discounts are killing them on top of the commissions. So yeah, we're trying to get people out of this habit of expecting discounts, and more for the experience. Okay. Amresh runs Thapa Ji Ke Momos, and I've heard of them. I haven't tried them yet. They have 3 outlets and 5 kiosks. He's asking what things to keep in mind while expanding very early on. And second part of his question is, how do you create the best team?
When expanding early on, and how to create the best team.
Yes.
Right. So basically, when you're expanding early on, the first thing is that you should go deep and not wide. So I would say that whenever, after your PMF is done, make sure that all your SOPs are in place. Make sure that your model is right. Model is right, meaning the ROI, because ultimately,
Right.
for that is the real crux. Even if a franchisee comes in, or an investor comes in, or you put your own money, right? If you are able to crack a good ROI, then you're ready for scale. So that's something that you have to do. And then making a good team, right? So good team, I would say, when you're starting small, it is by your actions that your team is attracted to you. So one at a time, you should know that okay, for your team, you should always look for a passionate person, for a person who has a good learning mentality, and be there with the team. So if you do that, I think one person at a time, you can have like a good team.
Okay. Amresh also has a very interesting point that there are 10 people who want to open my food brand in their own city, but he doesn't know where to start.
Yeah.
He's saying that there are 10 people who want to open my food brand in their own city. So they probably want
Huh.
franchises of Thapa GK Momo, but don't know where to start. So I'm guessing he's talking about the 10 people who want to start, but they don't know where to start. How do you go? How do you get going faster?
Yeah. So, firstly, like if you have 10 people to start your brand, that's a very good thing. If there is inquiry, that's amazing. And if you want to go about it, like, you have a conversation with the investor, find out which location is suitable for them. And firstly, before going about that, I would say that, you should define that, your brand, where do you want to scale based on your operations? Is it a FOCO model? Is it a FOFO model? Is it what kind of operations you want to run? Based on that, you should define that okay, I'm going to scale in Mumbai or Bangalore or whichever city that you want to give. And after you define that, then talk to the investors, 10 people, and say okay, I have these 5 locations open, which location do you want? And then give them that location, and obviously make like a good financial model, so that when you're having the conversation with these guys, uh, you can share that. So basically, first thing is create a financial model of your franchisee. Second thing is filter the locations
Mhm.
that where you are interested to give the franchisee. And then third is have the conversation and go about executing.
Okay. So Amresh also has a follow-up question, which I think is kind of related. It's a good question, right? Where do you open the first outlet, right? Bangalore or Indore? I mean, tier one or tier two?
So, like this is interesting, but the thing is, it totally depends on your product, what you're going to serve, right? So, if it is like Indori product, or maybe Indore audience would love it, then go for that. And basically, you have to think about your operation also, like which would be easier to operate. Like
Hmm.
Indore outlet would be easier to operate, or a Bangalore outlet would be easier to operate. Based on that, I would say that you need to figure which outlet is first. But in terms of cost, cost wise, if you think Indore is better, because your initial running cost, operational cost will be lesser than Bangalore. So if you're trying it out, if your model is not set, if you want to take less risk, then maybe Indore is a good bet.
Okay. Thanks for those questions, Amresh. Okay. Raja Shekhar Alahari, he has not mentioned his outlet or brand or the city, but he has an interesting question, right? On marketing budgets. So he's asking any insights on marketing budgets for an Indian restaurant which has to make 6 lakh per month just to break even.
Okay. 6 lakhs per month to break even. So basically, ideally, the benchmark is like 2 to 3%. Okay, to for the marketing budget. But
Mm.
now, suppose let's say your brand is new, okay, and you want to do an awareness. So what we usually do is like initially we keep like 1.5 2 lakh budget for marketing for the first 1 2 months, so that we can engage the audience and bring about an awareness in that locality.
Mm.
So what you spend on is also very important, okay, when you're doing marketing. So if you want to reach to a 6 lakh break even, I would say that you should divide your spending in digital and on ground activation. So having like 50,000 per month for 3 months would be like a good option, and in 3 months you can come to a 6 lakhs break even. So you'll have to spend around 1.5 lakh, and then you can run the marketing cost at 2%.
Okay. I hope that answers your question, Raja Shekhar. फैजल साहब हिंदी आती है लेकिन we are trying to address पूरा audience, so kindly bear with us. Okay. Looking at more questions. Yeah. So Preetham, we'll talk about the books in the end. We're just going to see the operational questions first, right? So Preetham has a question around what parameters to consider while taking a franchisee of a beverage business, because those are seasonal businesses.
Sorry, come again.
So
Sorry.
what parameters to consider while taking a franchisee for a beverage business?
For a
Uh,
beverage
because
business.
they are seasonal businesses. He's not talking about which beverage, whether it's coffee or tea or any cold drink, but
So I
there are
cannot comment
particular
on a
parameters.
beverage business, but the parameters would be like for a good franchisee
Mm,
is that you should see the number of years they've been operating.
mm,
Okay, a good number of years is something that gives clarity on how matured the operations are. So if one outlet is like on for 3 to 4 years, that means it has run its profitability cycle and investors are getting money. So you should see the number of years the business is into and from how many years they are giving franchisee. The second thing is that you should see that every year how many franchisees are they adding. Like
mm.
first year it will be 10, then the second year, what is the growth rate of adding the franchisees? If there is a good growth rate of franchisee, that means the investors are happy and year on year there is like an organic growth that is
Right.
happening. So that is the second factor that you should see for a good franchisee. Then the third thing is the vision of the founder, right? So you should definitely follow the founder. You should see what are they talking about, what is their passion, what do they want to do with the brand, how long are they going to be in the business. So that is the third thing that you should see. And the fourth thing is when you go to a outlet, right? When you have the product yourself, it should be like a brag worthy product. Like when you go
Mm.
there, you yourself should feel कि अरे क्या मस्त brand है. It was very good, मजा आ गया, and you should get that good customer experience from one or two of the outlets. And the last thing would be like talking to franchisee owners who have already taken the franchisees. they
Right.
are, they will give you the real feedback in terms of are they happy or not, and at least talk to three or four, not only one person, because you should take an average. And I think if you do all these five things, you're sure shot going to get a good franchisee.
Awesome. Okay.
Mm.
This is a question from Samir from Bombay. He has a brand called Raju Ki Chai, right? Like you were saying, very specialist, right? So
Mhm.
his question, there are two questions that he has. One, how important is it to have an SOP guideline, like a training manual for a QSR outlet? And I feel you've answered this in part, but might be worth repeating.
Yes. So for a good QSR, the SOP is the heart of the business. Okay. Like I told, you should remove the guesswork, right, from the outlet. The more you're able to remove the guesswork, the easier it is to run the operation. Because let's say if your SOP is sorted, then you can just hire someone who does not have much knowledge and you can just teach them the SOP and get the outlet running. So having an SOP in a QSR outlet is of utmost importance. And if you want to scale and if you want to run a franchisee, that is like the heart of it.
So absolutely essential. I think SOPs are pillars for your business.
Pillars, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Second question that he has is how do you deal with attrition despite paying a good salary? Because hiring is very difficult in QSR. And in spite of having three, four outlets now, providing with accommodation, food, PF, ASIC, all possible benefits, he's still facing attrition.
Correct. So this is an ongoing thing. You cannot eradicate attrition, but you can definitely reduce it, and we have done that. So one interesting way of doing it is basically showing them a growth plan. Right, whoever is joining your firm, okay, they also have a life and they also have a vision. So you as a founder, it's your duty to show them the ladder. Like, okay, if you're working with me for first year, this will be your growth. Second year, you can go to the next position. So if you want to go to the next position, you have to do these things. What will be the next position? Then after that, once you're like, let's say if it's a team member, right? So team
Mhm.
member becomes a senior team member, then he becomes an assistant store manager, then he becomes a store manager, then he becomes a area manager, then he becomes a senior area manager, something like that. So you have to show them the growth path, and you should define it like, okay, in 6 months you will be here, in 1 year you will be here, in 2 years you will be here. So that is something that has to be passed down to the employees at a very early stage so that they are aligned with your vision. Then you should always be talking about your vision for the brand. Let's say I'm going to open 10 outlets or 50 outlets so that they can see their future. Okay, this
Yeah.
brand is growing and I can become like an area manager or an operations head in the next 5, 7, 8 years. Then one more thing that you can do is you can give loyalty bonus. So one thing that works well with blue collar employees is that if you tell them that, okay, if you work with me for first 2 years, 24 months, then I will give you this kind of bonus, and you should calculate that in advance, saying that, okay, 500 per month also will be like a good amount for them. So you can plan that, and every 2 years you can give them like a bonus. So these are two three small things that you do to reduce attrition. And the second thing is giving salaries on time. So that is the most important for folks in our
Right.
industry. For them, that is the most important thing. So you should give your salaries on time, and ensure that they are, and have a conversation every quarter as to what did you learn, what do you want to do, and all
Right.
that thing. Basically all those things will reduce your attrition rate.
You're right. So tangibles like salaries and benefits, but intangibles like maintaining a constant touch point, just having a pulse on how they are doing. Okay,
Correct.
that's great. Okay. Last question. Preetham, this is your question. Please discuss the books about SOP, management, and scaling. What recommendations do you have, Justin?
Yeah, so for scaling I have not got the book, but one book that has like added a lot of value in my life is Setting Your Table by Danny Meyer. That is like the best book.
Yeah.
uh, yeah. And then Know Your Numbers. So that is also a good book. I am not sure about the author. I can actually text you, or maybe like you can get in touch with me. I'll tell you the exact name. These two books are the most
Mhm.
important books in our industry. I learned about the PNL, profit and loss, from Know Your Numbers, and the second is the Setting the Table,
Right.
where I understood about how to run a food empire.
So one book that I can also recommend is Unreasonable Hospitality by Will
Yeah.
Guidara, right? And I am not from the F&B business. I've been in tech all my life, but that is an insane insight into how to get the best performing teams ever, right? And I think Will Guidara was working with Danny Myers at 11 Madison Park,
Correct.
right?
That's right.
They also have a newsletter called Pre-Meal, which is a weekly newsletter. So yeah, Preetham, just check it out. It's phenomenal. It's extremely easy to relate to and understand, even for somebody like me who's not from the operational side of the business. Okay, fantastic. I think this was a great set of questions, great discussion. I hope you guys learned a lot. But before I let you go, Justin, I have a bunch of rapid fire questions for you that I want to know answers to, right? I
So,
want to know which is your favorite restaurant in the whole world.
in the whole world, Kerala Cafe.
Ah, you're being biased now. Tell me some other name.
Bombay Candy.
Bombay Canteen, of course. We had Yash here a couple of episodes ago, and you know why Bombay Canteen is Bombay Canteen when you talk to him.
Yes. They have
Uh,
also rules of setting the table, by the way. That's
yeah,
how
of
I got.
course. I mean, that's he also said that, and I mean, you can't escape it. It's just a such a Bible, right?
Yes.
What are you watching on TV right now these days?
Nothing. I don't have a TV at home.
Wow. Okay, interesting. All right. And who would you like to see on the show?
I would like to see Gauri Devi Diyal.
Yeah, we're trying to get her. Hopefully, we should. Awesome. That's fantastic. And where can people reach out to you, Justin, if they have more questions or if they need more guidance?
So I can give my number, or maybe email.
Okay,
Email.
email is better.
LinkedIn. LinkedIn also. I'm active on LinkedIn.
LinkedIn. Okay, fantastic. So, guys, look for Justin George on LinkedIn, and we'll drop his email also in case you guys want it. But yeah, thank you so much for this, Justin. It has been phenomenal. One of the most enjoyable sessions in our
And
season.
thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ketan. It was lovely chatting with you. I can do more.
Of course, of course. It's never enough, right? We'll do part two in season two.
Absolutely.
But yeah, thanks for your time. Thanks for joining everybody. And yeah, good to see you again.
Thank you so much.
All right. Have a good one. See you guys.
Yes. Bye bye. Thank you.
Bye.